a WikiVidi documentaries production. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Enjoy. The Good Place. The Good Place is an American fantasy comedy television series created by Michael Schur. The series premiered on September 19, 2016, on NBC. The series focuses on Eleanor Shellstrop, a woman who wakes up in the afterlife, and is introduced by Michael to The Good Place, a highly selective heaven-like utopia he designed, as a reward for her righteous life. She realizes that she was sent there by mistake, and must hide her morally imperfect behavior and try to become a better, more ethical person. William Jackson Harper, Jameela Jamil and Manny Jacinto co-star as other residents of The Good Place, together with D'Arcy Carden as Janet, an artificial being helping the inhabitants. The Good Place received positive reviews upon its debut and has since gained critical acclaim. It has been praised for its acting, writing, originality, setting, and tone. In addition, its first season twist ending and its exploration and creative use of ethics and philosophy have been positively received. In November 2017, NBC renewed the series for a 13-episode third season, which premiered on September 27, 2018. Season 1. After her death, Eleanor Shellstrop is welcomed to her afterlife in The Good Place by Michael, an immortal architect, who specifically designed their afterlife community to accommodate everyone's specific tastes. Soon after, she realizes she does not fit in and has been mistaken for someone else. Eleanor quickly tells her assigned soulmate, a university ethics professor named Chidi Anagonye, that she has been mistaken for someone else. He agrees to teach Eleanor to become a better person to earn her spot. Her neighbor is introduced to her as a silent Buddhist monk named Jianyu, whose soulmate is socialite to horny Jamil. Jianyu reveals that he knows Eleanor is there by mistake, and that he himself is actually a dim-witted DJ from Florida named Jason Mendoza, who also believes he has been sent to the Good Place by mistake. As Chidi continues to teach Eleanor and then Jason ethics lessons, Tahorny tries to work out a way in which Eleanor and Jason can be allowed to stay in the Good Place. When those efforts prove fruitless, an eternal judge named Sean rules that Eleanor and Jason must be sent to the bad place. In the season finale's twist ending, Eleanor deduces that the four have actually been in the bad place all along, and Michael reveals his demonic plot to have the four human inhabitants torture each other for all eternity emotionally and psychologically. He then announces his intent to wipe their memories and separate the four. But just before he does so, Eleanor smuggles a note to herself inside the mouth of the artificial intelligence caretaker named Janet. Season 2. Michael is given permission to start again once, erasing the group's memories, and attempts the experiment in human torture again, but the group figures out the truth repeatedly. After 802 reboots, the other demons stage a coup against Michael and threaten to inform his boss about the repeated failures. Michael eventually teams up with the four humans and promises to get them all into the real Good Place. The group later escapes with Michael's help, and they attempt to get to the Good Place by appealing to an entity known as the Judge, named General. She gives tests to each human which play to their weaknesses. They all fail except Eleanor. Jen is also not convinced that the improvements the four of them have shown are due to them being good people. Instead, she believes that their changes are due to their desire for moral desert. Michael appeals, believing that all they need is a push, and they are all placed back in their bodies moments before death without memory of their afterlife, with their deaths now replaced with near-death experiences to give them a chance to overcome their flaws for the right reasons. After a false start, Michael intervenes and points Eleanor in the direction of Chidi, which reignites her passion for ethics and causes her to seek out Chidi. Season 3. Eleanor, Chidi, Tahorny, and Jason are sent back to Earth by Michael, who intervenes in their near-death accidents in hopes that a second chance at life allows them to become better versions of themselves. He realizes that it is not going to plan, so meets all four humans and subtly hints to them to meet Chidi to do a research study about near-death experiences and ethical decision-making in Sydney. They all form a research group, which is shortly infiltrated by Trevor, a demon pretending to be an overeager friend. Development and casting. NBC issued a press release on August 13, 2015, announcing it had given the then Untitled show a 13-episode order based purely on a pitch by Michael Schur. On January 12, 2016, it was announced that Kristen Bell and Ted Danson had been cast in the lead roles for the series. The first synopsis of the show was also released, stating that the show was set to revolve around Eleanor designing her own self-improvement course with Michael acting as her guide, although the afterlife element had always been a part of the series. As Kristen Bell has stated, she was aware of the first season finale twist when she signed on to the show. William Jackson Harper was cast as Chris on February 11, 2016, though the character was renamed Chidi. Jameela Jamil was cast as Tessa on February 25, 2016, and her character was renamed to Horny. On March 3, 2016, Manny Jacinto was revealed to have been cast as a sweet and good-natured Jason, whose dream is to make a living as a DJ in southern Florida. On March 14, 2016, D'Arcy Carden was cast in a series regular role that was announced as Janet Dell'Annunzio, a violin salesperson with a checkered past, although writer Megan Amram later admitted that this was an intentional hoax. The final premise for the show, including the afterlife element, was ultimately announced on May 15, 2016, when NBC announced its schedule for the 2016-17 TV season. According to Schur, the premise and idea was to include religious elements into the series after doing research on various faiths and groups. But he decided to scrap the plans, instead going for a concept that included all faiths that was diverse and free of religious views. I stopped doing research, because I realized it's about versions of ethical behavior, not religious salvation, he says. The show isn't taking a side. The people who are there are from every country and religion. Schur also points out that the setting already had the feeling of a pastiche of different cultures, stating that the neighborhoods will feature people who are part of non-denominational and interdenominational backgrounds that interact with each other regardless of religion. The series' setting and premises, as well as the serialized cliffhangers, were modeled on Lost, a favorite of Schur. One of the first people he called when he developed the series was Lost co-creator Damon Lindelof. I took him to lunch and said, "We are going to play a game of, is this anything?" He then added, "I imagine this going in the Lost way, with cliffhangers and future storylines." The first season's surprise twist, that the good place was the bad place, and Chidi, Eleanor, Jason, and Tahorny were the four souls chosen, because they were best suited to torture each other indefinitely, is very similar in premise to philosopher Jean-Paul Sartre's stage play No Exit, in which three strangers are escorted to a single room by a friendly bellhop where they are informed they must coexist together, but ultimately determine they are entirely incompatible and thus come to the conclusion that hell is other people. The only actors who knew the truth from the start were Danson and Bell. Critics have also suggested resemblances to 1960s surreal TV show The Prisoner in its isolated, rule-bound setting. Broadcast and release. The series premiered on September 19, 2016. On January 30, 2017, NBC renewed the series for a second season of 13 episodes, which premiered on Wednesday, September 20, 2017, with an hour-long premiere before moving to its normal time slot on Thursday at 8:30 p.m., beginning September 28, 2017. On November 21, 2017, NBC renewed the series for a 13-episode third season, which premiered on September 27, 2018. From the start of the series' second season in September 2017, Netflix distributed it to various international markets, with new episodes being released a few hours after their original American airing. Critical response. The Good Place has received positive reviews from television critics. On Rotten Tomatoes, the first season has a rating of 91%, based on 58 reviews, with an average rating of 7.84. The site's critical consensus reads, Kristen Bell and Ted Danson knock it out of the park with supremely entertaining, charming performances in this absurd, clever and whimsical portrayal of the afterlife. On Metacritic, the first season has a score of 78 out of 100, based on reviews from 32 critics, indicating generally favorable reviews. The editors of TV Guide placed The Good Place second among the top 10 picks for the most anticipated new shows of the 2016-17 season. In its review from writer Liam Matthews, NBC's new comedy has an impressive pedigree. Matthews concludes, the hope is that their combined star power can restore NBC's tarnished comedy brand to its former glory. It won't be the next Friends, but it's something even better, a network comedy that feels different than anything that's come before. The second season received critical acclaim. On Rotten Tomatoes, the second season has a rating of 100%. Based on 51 reviews, with an average rating of 8.72. The site's critical consensus reads, by voluntarily blowing up its premise, The Good Place sets up a second season that proves even funnier than its first. On Metacritic, the second season has a score of 87 out of 100, based on reviews from 10 critics, indicating universal acclaim. The third season has also received critical acclaim. On Rotten Tomatoes, the third season has a rating of 100%, based on 23 reviews, with an average rating of 9.17. The site's critical consensus reads, charming and curious as ever. The Good Place remains a delightfully insightful bright spot on the television landscape. On Metacritic, the third season has a score of 96 out of 100, based on reviews from 5 critics, indicating universal acclaim. Multiple critics have praised the show for its exploration and creative use of ethics and philosophy. Featured topics include the trolley problem thought experiment, the categorical imperative, T.M. Scanlan's What We Owe to Each Other, and the works of Aristotle and Søren Kierkegaard. Andrew P. Street of The Guardian wrote that moral philosophy is the beating heart of the program, and that the show made philosophy seem cool. Elizabeth Yuko of The Atlantic noted that The Good Place stands out for dramatizing actual ethics classes on screen, without watering down the concepts being described, and while still managing to be entertaining. For their part, several philosophers have celebrated the show's largely accurate popularization of their line of work while noting some minor inaccuracies. Several critics have noted that The Good Place is notable for its eschewing of anti-heroes and cynical themes in favor of likable characters and a positive message. James Ponowczyk of The New York Times explained that the most refreshing thing about The Good Place, in an era of artistic bleakness, is its optimism about human nature. It's made humane and side-splittingly entertaining television out of the notion that people and even the occasional immortal demon are redeemable. Jenna Shearer of Rolling Stone wrote that The Good Place proves that slapstick and banter can coexist alongside tragedy and hardship, that a show doesn't need to be self-serious to be serious-minded. Eric Adams of the AV Club praised the show as portraying an uncommonly decent TV world. Stuart Heritage of The Guardian called The Good Place relentlessly optimistic, a quality which Stephanie Palumbo of Vulture called a salve for despair in the Trump era. Brought to you by WikiVidi Documentaries. Would you like to know more?